Support for I Am Salt Lake comes from KRCL 90.9, amplifying community voices since 1979. This listener-supported music discovery station covers everything from reggae and punk rock to local grassroots activism. Listen today at 90.9 FM or online at krcl.org.
This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Energy Healing Conference, Five Wives Vodka, and CBD Medic. We're going to be telling you more about them throughout this episode.
All right, what's going on, guys? Hey, I want to personally welcome you out today to episode 382 of I Am Salt Lake Podcast. My name's Chris Hollifield.
And my name's Chrissy Hollifield. And if you're new to this show, you might be wondering what it's all about. Well, this podcast is all about showcasing awesome people doing awesome things in Salt Lake City. We get to talk to musicians, authors, business owners, restaurant owners, breweries, distilleries, really anyone that might have a cool story to share.
And as always, we're recording right in beautiful downtown Salt Lake City in our podcast studio that's located in the back of Empire Merchandise. Empire Merchandise is located at 680 South State Street. And not only does Empire have an amazing selection of vape juice and vape accessories, but this is where you can come and purchase your very own I Am Salt Lake podcast t-shirt. Hey, it's summertime out there, perfect short sleeve t-shirt weather, so I better see a lot of these t-shirts out and about here in Salt Lake City.
Today on the podcast, we got to sit down and have an awesome conversation with Mike and Cori, the owners of Watchtower Coffee and Comics. We got to talk about what they've been doing since the last time they've been on the show, about them moving locations, and we also find out everything you need to know about their new Kickstarter.
Hey, before we jump into that conversation with Mike and Cori, I want to take a moment and thank one of our awesome sponsors, Energy Healing Conference. You know, Tammy Anderson Ward from Hope Haven Events has produced dozens of life-changing conferences, retreats, and events since 2014, helping to bring clarity to thousands about energy healing. So we're excited to tell you about this event that she's doing, Energy Healing Conference. It's coming to downtown Salt Lake City on June 21st and June 22nd, right to the Salt Palace Convention Center, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on both days. And there are going to be dozens of nationally acclaimed speakers who are experts in the field of energy medicine, nutrition, acupuncture, qigong, over 200 alternative health vendors with unique products and services. Some of their keynote speakers include Carol Tuttle, Tammy Anderson Ward, Tam Pendleton, and Benjamin King. You're going to want to head on over to their website, energyhealingconference.com, so you can find out more information about this amazing conference. I Am Salt Lake podcast listeners, you're going to want to enter in the promo code IAMSLC, all one word, enter that in at checkout, and that's going to save you $10 off your general admission ticket. One thing you need to know, earlier you register, the cheaper it is, since the price of the tickets keep going up as it gets closer. Again, the website, energyhealingconference.com, enter in the promo code IAMSLC, all one word, that's going to save you $10, and we're going to see you at the conference. And many thanks to Energy Healing Conference for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Let's jump into that conversation that we had with Mike and Cori from Watchtower when they came to our podcast studio to share their story and everything that they're up to. Thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the conversation. Episode 207 was the first time that you both were on I Am Salt Lake.
It was like a lifetime ago.
And
we had just opened
Watchtower. What is the history there with Watchtower as far as like when did it open up?
So I was the general manager of Coffee Connection.
Yeah.
That we took over. I was only a general manager for like a month. And it was kind of obvious that the people that bought Coffee Connection, so Coffee Connection was started by a friend of mine. And then he sold it off to some people that just had smoke shops. They had a smoke shop down the street. They obviously just wanted a business
Coffee
that was
was
up
not
and
their
running,
industry.
You know. So when I started working for them, it was obvious that they didn't care about the shop. They didn't know much about coffee or anything. And then business was just kind of going downhill. So my own frustrations, I was kind of poking around, asking like, what would it take to open up my own?
And they were like, that's crazy talk to try to do your own coffee shop.
No, they turn around. They're like, well, we're looking to sell, so you can have it.
Yeah. They made
Like
it really easy, really, really easy for us to take over.
So it was dropped in our lap. We probably to a degree thought that we were ready, but wow, it's been an educational experience thus far. We kind of like panicked, but we're like, it's kind of like do or die.
And that was, we opened for business October 9th, 2015.
So we're 2009. So about 4 years,
almost
4 years that you're pushing it. I mean, you've learned a lot in those 4 years, right?
Still am.
Learning, but yes,
positive learning, negative learning, a little bit of both.
Well, I mean,
everything's positive.
Yeah,
at the end
everything
of the day,
is positive.
Right?
And that's actually something that I've had to learn is you can't like wallow in like if somebody kind of drops the ball on something, no matter how much you're trying to run it yourself, you're still dependent on everybody. And then if somebody drops the ball, you can't like just like wallow in it and like
I do. I still continually misspell things on like our actual like promotional material on Facebook posts and things like that. I continually misspell the name of our business, and it just frustrates me so bad because I'm always in a rush.
But it makes you more human, though, I think. Don't you think?
I guess so.
Now, have you ever, over these last 4 years, have you run into instances where you're like, I just want to quit. We're just shutting down Watchtower.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost like a daily occurrence, but that's why you kind of have to keep it positive because it's just like you kind of like walk in and you're like, oh, I don't want to do this today, and then you're 2 minutes in, you're into it, and you're like, oh yeah, okay.
It seems like things have picked up though.
Yeah,
well, at least when I've been in there,
it's up and down. It's always up and down. Like it's picked up in some ways, and it's kind of because we keep evolving and changing, right? Mm-hmm. Like when we first opened, we did a lot of food. We were doing like grilled cheese. We did the grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and we had burritos. There was the burrito phase, and we had lots of food. And then we realized that we were accidentally becoming a restaurant, and people were coming in for only food and not getting any coffee. And we're like, well, we want to be a coffee shop though. And we kind of hit a point where it was really, really popular. We were making really good food, but if we were going to continue, we had to build out a full kitchen, hire like a kitchen manager, and we had to grow into that like full cafe, or simplify, cut the food menu off and just focus on coffee, which is what we did.
Were you throwing a lot of food away? Is that kind of what was happening with the food?
It was just like sheer we couldn't keep up with the demand of food. Like there was just too many people.
Yeah. Because we use the local roaster, La Barba.
Yeah.
And they're very, very like, they gave us specialized training. So what we had was baristas that knew how to pull a shot.
Fully trained.
You know, and that's where our passion and our drive was making sure that we put together a good cup of joe. So it just didn't feel right that everybody was coming in and they're like, oh, grilled cheese sandwich. We don't care about like coffee or anything. And then so our baristas are highly trained, specialized baristas.
Flipping burgers. Yeah. Basically.
We're pretty much doing that. So it's we kind of had to put a stop in what our customers were evolving our shop into versus like what we were actually trying to.
It's always a balance. Like you don't want to let your guests dictate what the business is. However, you do want to accommodate your guests.
Yeah.
And so there's like this back and forth,
balance.
Right?
Well, that's a good example because people were coming in and they're like, I would come in more if you had gluten-free like food options. And it's just like coffee's gluten-free, On the flip side, there's a lot of people that were like celiac and they're like, can you be accommodating for us? And it's like,
I like crab cakes, so can you guys be accommodating to that?
Absolutely.
No,
it's the health department.
It's funny though. Sorry to interrupt you there, Cori, but it's funny. People expect people to be accommodating, and it's like, well, that's not even what we're about, right? Like, could you be accommodating? Make sure that there's somebody here to give me a back rub, right?
Yeah,
my back's a little sore.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and we had somebody that was like, well, I'm celiac. I want a gluten-free option. And we're like, wow, well, definitely, for sure. We'll accommodate them. So we made like a hummus plate. And then they turned around and they're just like, well, I can't get a hummus plate every time I come in. I'm like, that's like 30% of our menu is that one item. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So a lot of learning in that regard, as far as the business, opening a business. I guess it's very similar to like a podcast, right? It's like a little baby, and it kind of grows, and you want to raise it a certain way, but at some point it kind of grows into itself and has its own personality in it. Like it lets you know what it is, whether that's a podcast or a business or a movie or show, whatever it is. Like it kind of takes on this life of its own. And we've hit that point with Watchtower where we didn't realize its full potential, and now it's kind of growing into itself.
When did you add in comics to it, right? Like it's Watchtower Coffee in comics, or has it always been that way? Really?
We started as Watchtower Cafe.
Oh, cafe.
And that's another thing, like the name itself was driving people to look for sandwiches and cafe food items, and we just don't do food anymore. So it was Cori's idea to rebrand. You know, we're moving locations, and with that, we kind of like, it's a good time to rebrand to what we want to focus on, which is coffee and comics.
We've always been trying to go for like more of like a bookstore vibe.
Yeah.
Not like the grab and go like coffee, but where you'd come in, you'd purchase a book, you'd digest it, and then while you're nursing a cup of coffee. And we kind of felt like that we struck that with cafe because we were thinking of like European cafe.
Yeah.
And it's just we're here
in America.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And it has like a whole
thing.
different meaning. Yeah. So we're we kind of rebranded to make sure that we're pointing that focus, especially because over the years, even our demographic has kind of like changed over. A lot of students were coming in because we're right across the way from the community college. But the students almost didn't care like what it was. They just wanted to come in. They wanted to sit down. They wanted to study. But some of those other students that actually had like that pointed interest in comic books or like artistry, those types of things were coming in. So things kind of evolved. And we definitely have kind of found like our demographic and our niche in actual creators, you know, kind of coming in and getting like inspired, which we kind of went for, but we never drove that point home. And then so we've been seeing like a huge evolution of our demographic.
And you guys do a lot of activities to kind of support the local artistic community and creative community. So it's been really cool to watch all the things that you're putting on within the, I don't want to say cafe, within the coffee and comic shop.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Five Wives Vodka. Not only is Five Wives Vodka delicious, but they are local and they are delicious. Hey, the next time you head on over to the state liquor store, make sure to pick up a bottle of Five Wives Vodka. The next time you head on over to your neighborhood local bar, ask for Five Wives Vodka by name, because every time you take a shot of Five Wives Vodka, you are supporting this podcast. Hey, they have 3 different flavors that Chrissy and I are going to tell you about. They have the original. This is the first Five Wives vodka that I tried. This is the one that sucked me in. This is the one that said, oh my gosh, I found a new favorite. This is made from Utah Mountain Spring Water. It's 100% distilled corn spirit and it's gluten-free. The spring is hidden in beautiful Ogden Canyon, so it's inaccessible by vehicle. So what do they got to do? They got to hike this water out 5 gallons at a time.
And if you want to spice it up, you need to check out Five Wives Sinful. Sinful is delicious cinnamon-flavored vodka. It's not like other cinnamon products that leave a cinnamon candy taste in your mouth. Sinful is like a morning cinnamon roll, and it only has 76 calories per ounce.
They also have the Five Wives Heavenly. This is another one of their flavored vodka, but this is with a delicious vanilla taste. Heavenly's rich, buttery vanilla flavor, it comes through without coating your taste buds with sugar, and this results in more vanilla and less calories. Like I said, their website, fivewivesvodka.com. Maybe you're hard up for a recipe. Go check out their website. They got them up there. They got more information about them. But like I said, the next time you head on over to the state liquor store, pick up a bottle of Five Wives Vodka or ask for Five Wives Vodka by name, because every time you take a shot of Five Wives Vodka, you are supporting this podcast. Many thanks to Five Wives Vodka for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. You mentioned you're moving.
Yeah.
The Watchtower's moving. And that
We are
was
moving.
one of the main points I wanted to talk about, obviously, bringing you guys on the podcast today. Why are you moving?
Well, do you want to start this one off, Cori? Or do you,
we've got like a laundry list of very specific points why, but to kind of lump it all together, the building just doesn't quite work. One of the things that we learned, we were like, yeah, we've got a business right there on State Street.
there's like a million cars that drive back
Yeah.
and forth there every day. It's like, like our business is a billboard for, an advertisement for ourselves, and cars are going way too fast to even notice us. And it's such a busy street, busy road, and there's an island in the middle. Like, so you'd have to it's really difficult to flip a U-turn and turn around and get to us. And
We would have to have like some massive, obnoxious sign
Yeah.
for people to even realize that we're there, because the speed limit is so fast. And then also, even with students at the community college, if they didn't already know that we were there, they park behind the community college.
Yeah, so they don't see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's accessed by the other sides, but because we're directly across the street, nobody actually passes in front of the community college to know that we're there.
so what happened was we took over the coffee shop that Cori was working at.
Yeah.
And they got out of the driver's seat and we sat down in it and then just started like geeking the place up and kind of making it our own. And this was a business that was being run into the ground. They were like, coffee was not their industry. They just didn't quite care enough to learn how to run a coffee shop. And it was just not being taken care of. The building itself is falling apart. It's super old, plumbing issues all the time. We started calling our HVAC unit the Grinch heart because it's 3 times too small to heat or cool the whole building. The space is just too big. Chairs and tables are constantly like falling apart, and there's old equipment, old furniture. And we kind of looked at each other, Cori and I, just realized that now that Watchtower has grown into what we know it is and what it deserves to be, what its potential is, the building can't support us anymore. And so we just kind of we had been on the lookout for a place, not aggressively, but one day, Joe Evans, our coffee guy / friend and consultant, told us about a spot that was opening up like a block away. And we looked into it, and the building owner is completely renovating the whole building. And so it would give us an opportunity to build up our shop, the new Watchtower, from scratch.
Is it going to be bigger?
No.
Smaller.
Which is what we need.
More refined, because
More efficient.
the building that we're in right now, most coffee shops will only have like 1 to 2 employees. We staff just 1, but they have to keep an eye on like this back study hall. They have to keep their eye on the lobby. They need to keep an eye on the art gallery. They also need to keep an eye on the bathrooms in the back.
And the side patio.
The side patio. Yeah. And it's even the counters that we stepped into take up like a huge amount of real estate. So one barista is darting like
running
halfway,
sprints.
like around the building just to complete one simple task.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like tightening the screws, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even think that you couldn't see that. I was like, yeah, you can't see those
No.
back. Have people done shady stuff over
All
there?
the time.
Probably shooting up drugs
Being
and
on
stuff.
State
Yeah.
Street, I mean, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. And so there's that. We just want a little more. The space is just so big, and we kind of moved into a place that we kind of, our friend Joe described it as like your dorm room, a college dorm room, where you go in and you can like start putting up your stuff and make it look really, really cool, and you customize it to fit your personality, but at the end of the day, it's still just a dorm room.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we were looking at, rather than, adapting to our space rather than building it up according to what we need.
Yeah.
Instead of like creating your space.
Creating our space. And that's why we're moving, because now that we know what we are and who our demographic is, we want to be able to create the space to fill the needs of everybody.
When are you moving? Or are you
Don't
not
have a
sure?
final
You don't
date
have
yet.
a final date yet?
So because they completely ripped out the inside, and then so they've got to get permits. They're building out like the plumbing exactly to what we need, and then they're going to throw in walls, and then we get to go in and build it out to what we need. So everybody's at the mercy of like the state on getting like the permits, passing everything off. And then our big baddie is basically the health department. Getting them to pass
sign off on everything.
And we're completely on their time. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they're definitely in control.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Charlie,
the health inspection.
That's his biggest job.
Yeah.
It's
Corey's Charlie in that situation. For sure.
Running over like, oh, it's inspection day. Put away the chickens. Kill the rats.
That's Chrissy's favorite show.
Oh my gosh, it's the best show ever.
That show. That's consistently
yes.
great.
Yeah.
Right? Every episode. Very, very good.
So I mean, do you want to say where the new location is, or do you want to kind of surprise people?
We retain the same street address. So 1588, and we're moving from state to Maine.
Okay.
So literally same south, 1 block west.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Sometimes when, we're a little frustrated with the building, we'll go walk out into the street and we'll take a look at the new place on the horizon and be like, someday it'll happen.
Yep.
Better parking or worse parking?
About the same, I would say. The thing that's better about Main Street parking is it's not such a fast moving street.
Right.
There's more street parking.
Okay.
And there's bike lanes, there's grass. It's just the sidewalks aren't all busted up and everything. So,
and it's going to be just slightly closer to some track stops. So if people are out and about, kind of doing their casual Saturday, then they can actually take tracks and like walk over. It's a little bit of a walk.
Yeah. But
it's just slightly closer. It's close by the ballpark. And we're going to have like this nice big front patio. So, it's going to be more of like that casual Saturday. Let's go hang out with some artwork. Let's go on a stroll type environment versus you have to drive, you have to lug out your laptop inside.
Very cool.
That is so cool.
So is that where the Kickstarter comes in?
Yeah.
Right? That you guys are... And that's why the biggest reason I wanted to get you guys back through I Am Salt Lake here, right? To kind of
you missed us.
Get the
we missed you most, but also we wanted to.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean,
really, you've always been so supportive. And
you guys are an important part of Salt Lake, in my opinion.
Man.
You are,
and I want to know that I did everything I could do to help you.
Really appreciate that. The support is sometimes surprising and overwhelming.
Yeah.
Does it get tough to like see all these people supporting you and you're like, we're not worthy?
I have a severe case of imposter syndrome.
We all do, man.
Yeah.
We all do.
It's bad. Our Kickstarter launches in a few days from now, from the time we're recording. Mm-hmm. So May 7th is when it's supposed to. And I'm terrified.
Why?
That
you won't make it?
There's that. Yeah. There's one that like I'm terrified that we're going to launch it and we're going to get like, 5 people donating, $5 each, and then that's it. And that's all we're going to get. And we're like, nobody likes us. And then I'm also terrified that because it leaves us really vulnerable for critics and people that are like, why does a business need to crowdfund? That should be a business expense. And Watchtower does all, they're not so great. They're not so cool. And like, I just worry about that. It's not rational. It just goes, those are the thoughts I'm going through right now. Like, I'm so like, your video sucks. Like, the video that you made is not good enough. And
it's so hard though, because like putting yourself out there and creating something and putting new things into the world is so difficult.
It's terrifying.
And it's way easier for people to sit on the sidelines and be like, oh, you did it that way.
Yeah,
and it's
I'm like
man,
everyone who left us a 1-star Yelp review is gonna come out of the woodworks. And drag us through the mud and like that's what I'm worried about.
But at the end of the day, it's just because they're miserable.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're probably jealous that they don't have a coffee shop.
They probably are.
They're like, I could put together a Kickstarter.
Okay, you do it.
My Kickstarter would be way better than this. But it's the reason why we're crowdfunding it is because. One, it's going to cost a lot of money for us to build it up from scratch. We could go the traditional route of chasing down like bank loans and chasing down investors, and we still might go that route. We wanted to give the community an opportunity first to say, hey, like
take some ownership.
We're
here.
we're so involved in the community, Cori and I are, that we want to give an opportunity to people that, because we get so much we get so many offers for help and support. They're like, let's give it to them, and let's see if everybody wants to chip in and take ownership of this space.
We also kind of debated on what type of crowdfunding sources to use. And there is like GoFundMe, where
Indiegogo.
It's just like literally people give you money. But we did really,
My favorite.
yeah.
I can't pay my bills.
But we ultimately settled on Kickstarter because we did want to make sure that people got something out of it. Because we have a network of local artists, some of them, industry professionals that actually do come in and draw at Watchtower. So that's why we kind of went through that. So, if people obviously want to support us, then they're still getting something back.
And we wanted to give them something like really cool and exclusive. Can we talk about like all the...
Do you care? Can we jump into that? I was hoping
Is that cool?
Yeah.
Because I'm really... The one thing that gets me super excited about the Kickstarter are the rewards that we were somehow able to wrangle together.
Yeah.
So we started reaching out to some of our friends who are professionals in different industries within the art community. The first one was Derek Hunter, who is Utah native, now lives in LA because he worked on Adventure Time. Now he works on DuckTales, and he's working on a couple of other Nickelodeon shows. He's done Bravest Warrior. So if you're familiar with those cartoons, he's worked on all of those, and he's a hometown hero, and he was a good friend of Cori's while he lived here. So we hit him up, and we just kind of gave him a little direction. He came up with this really cool, weird design that says "Keep Salt Lake Nerdy."
Oh yeah, I saw that. I was like, I gotta have that.
And that's Derek Hunter. And then my sister Shar, who is a professional artist in Hawaii, she does like this. How would you describe her art, Cori?
It's very the retro Pixar
stylized.
Type. Yeah, kind of like the Rocketeer.
Yeah,
sort of deal where it's the Art Deco.
Mm-hmm.
But with a tropical flourish.
Yeah, she does like she does a series of Polynesian women, and she just kind of, after she saw Black Panther last year, then she came up with this Defend Wakanda with the Dora Milaje standing there with their spears and everything. And she doesn't do fan art that much anymore, but she did that piece, and I basically asked the brother favor if we could use that. Who else we got, Cori? Chad Harden. He's an industry professional, works on, did Harley Quinn. Did he not create the new image of Harley Quinn from the Batman animated series? Yeah. And then now Harley Quinn she has the ponytails. And, so he lives in Utah County.
Derby girl.
Yeah. So he created that look. He lives in Utah County, and we commissioned him to do a piece that I love.
He's like, well, what are you looking for? And we're like, we kind of want something surrounding like coffee. And then obviously his girls are very, very adorable, very cute. So we were kind of going for that angle. And we were actually working at helping out with Wasatch Comic-Con. And then so that's when we kind of handed everything over. So he was working on it, and his wife almost snatch it out of his hands to show us. And it was just like, our minds were blown. Like we knew that we were really going to like it, but it was just like, he incorporated so many elements that just made it seem like cozy. So even though it's a comic book image, it's like a legitimate art piece, because you could pick out like certain points of it that kind of invoke, certain like comfort feelings.
Mm-hmm. There's Chris Bodley.
Yeah, our boy Chris Bodley.
You know Chris?
Well, we've had him on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. I need to listen to that episode.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was quite a while ago. Yeah.
Love Chris. So I believe Chris was the first person we brought into the Gallery of Rogues. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Cori wanted to dedicate part of the shop to be an art gallery, and we wanted to highlight local artists and do art shows and everything. And Chris Bodley was the first person that we reached out to and invited to do a show. And we didn't promote it very well. It was our first gig of doing something like that. And so we were kind of learning the ropes. And there was some other event going on that night too, elsewhere in Salt Lake. And so not very many people showed up. And then we ended up just because nobody was really there and Chris had all of his art up on the walls. Cori and I just sat down with Chris and his wife, Chelsea. And we just sat down at the table, chatted for a few hours and like ended up becoming really good friends. And so we ran into him and his wife, Chelsea, at like, art shows or at Craft Lake City. And, always met with a big hug. And he's just just good people. That we had to work with him.
Yeah. Him and his wife, Chelsea, are putting together a comic book too. He's also kind of becoming a creator.
Yep.
In
Comic book creator.
That field. We've been able to see like some of the images and he's starting to put those up in galleries too. And it's really, really cool. It's kind of Halloween centric, which is my favorite holiday by far. So yeah, he I think we're one of the first people to actually commission him for a piece.
Really? I don't know.
Wasn't he?
I don't know about that, but we basically just gave him free reign because we love everything that
everything he does.
So we're like, I'm not even going to tell him what to do. I just said, if you want to do something cute or cool or creepy, whatever you want to do, just put Watchtower Coffee and Comics in it. And then he came back. It was just like, I mean, we didn't know what to expect, but it's this, he calls it a bubblegum skull. So it's a pink skull with eyeballs and disembodied hands holding like one of those like paper doll cutout things that says Watchtower Coffee and Comics. It's just so weird and so
cool. It's one of his
cool.
kind of like creepier.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, I love that style of
And
his.
it looks like you're putting it on mugs and pint glasses and T-shirts. So probably just different levels of rewards, I guess.
Right.
Or...
So the way that it'll work for the Kickstarter is, you can get a mug level or a pint glass or a T-shirt.
And do you pick which artist?
And then you choose which piece of art you want on them. So there'll also be levels like you can get one of each. So you can get a mug, a shirt, a glass, a sticker, and you could choose which pieces of art you want on which thing. Or you can get like all the mugs or all the stickers or whatever, all the shirts. And so that way you can kind of like collect pieces of art as rewards for helping us.
How much money are you looking to raise?
Okay. So we keep going back and forth on this.
Or do you not want to?
No, we do.
I was going to say, we do. If you don't want to talk about that.
This is what we need. What we need is about 50,000, which is a lot. We're not going to set that as
not
our
really
Kickstarter
for a
goal.
business, though. If you really think
but
about
for a
it.
Kickstarter, I feel like that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it depends.
How
right?
long does a Kickstarter run for? A month?
We're going to run it for a month.
Okay.
We're going to run it for a month, but we're not going to ask for 50. We're going to set our goal at, I think we decided we landed on 30.
Yeah.
We're going to set the goal at 30,000 because we would rather just have something to work with than
nothing.
Because
you don't get any money if you don't make it.
If you don't make it, you don't get it.
See, and that's what I like about GoFundMe though, because they pay
regardless, right? Like even
that's
if you don't
kinda,
make your full amount.
That's kind of
so
weird that Kickstarter doesn't.
Well, they make it so that it's more of like a campaign and an event, and like you're more inclined
to really push it. Well, let's push it.
All
right, Salt Lake, let's do this.
All right.
Rally everyone.
I don't want to stop talking about art until we have to mention Chelsea Mack.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I didn't.
No, that's okay. I want to make sure that we highlight her because she's a newly started like putting her art out professionally.
And these are cute too. I'm on your Facebook page.
Yeah.
That's what I see them.
She did an axolotl. Is that how you pronounce him?
I have no idea.
You don't know what it is?
Oh yeah, that's what I would say here.
Yeah.
In a coffee cup.
And it's
so adorable.
Yeah.
So you're trying to raise $30,000 and you have 4 different artists that you're 5?
Yeah.
Dude, you got this,
5.
man. If we come on,
5 different artists.
Get a mug, a T-shirt.
Yeah, and we're also going to do so we haven't even announced the other awards that we're doing. We're doing some cool stuff where you can, for a higher level, you can name a drink special.
Oh,
so like this was Cori's idea, so I'm just going to tell them your idea. But like drink, like if I Am Salt Lake, say, wanted to have an I Am Salt Lake drink special.
Yeah, I'm all over it.
Then you can name it after your podcast or your brand or it could be the Chrissy. We could.
I think you should do that
for
sure.
yourself, what personally, or you could do it to promote your thing that you want to promote, whatever you want to do. And so that's something. And then Cori and I will personally sit down and work with you on like, all right, what are you feeling? Like what kind of what kind of vibe does I Am Salt Lake taste like? You know, what kind of drink can we put together to make that? We don't have that license yet, but after hours, we can serve the I Am Salt Lake Chris Blues special.
Private party.
We'll like personally sit down with you and create a drink along something that fits, right?
I mean, I would imagine you can't just accept any name. I mean, what if somebody wants to just name it like the Shitty Coffee or something?
Yeah, no, we will veto.
We will.
You have executive veto power,
and we'll creatively work with you on how to word it.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know. I wouldn't call anything like the poop drink or the poop joke, but you know, like
that's the first thing that comes to my mind, right? Like a glass of cat piss.
I want to name it the Hitler. No.
Yeah, no.
Why do we have to go there? Yeah.
Sorry. I'm sorry. So things like that.
No, right, yeah.
We have different, in addition to the merchandise itself, we have some really cool other things that.
Well, this should make you feel better because you're actually, it's not like you're just saying, here's our PayPal address, send us money.
Yeah.
People are going to get something cool.
They do. They're going to get something really cool.
Well, they're going to get something cool, and they're going to get there's something about giving to a cause that you support. There's something about being a part of creating something. And I think a lot of your customers and, us, we want to help.
Sure.
We want the opportunity
That's so weird
to
to
help
me.
and to be a part of things.
I'm so like,
no, it's.
I don't want to say I'm not
don't
uncomfortable.
You want to help things
I'm
if you
grateful.
you want to help.
I do
things,
all
right?
the time.
So that's how we all are.
And I get it.
It's almost like everybody wants to invest in us, and it's just like
it's hard to be on the receiving end.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't take compliments well. I've trained myself when somebody gives me a compliment to just look them straight in the face and tell them thank you and move on with the conversation.
Yeah.
Because I'm so uncomfortable.
Here's an idea. Have a top reward, like $30,000, right? Coffee for life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
If somebody
we
came
could do
in,
coffee for life.
If somebody came in, boom, here's
I wouldn't even do
$30,000.
30,000. I would do it at a lower level, but
5,000.
yeah.
Or a cup of coffee a day for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. That'd be it. I don't know. I mean,
we could for sure do that.
You do. Yeah.
Yeah, we could for sure.
Well, so what's the best way for people? I mean, how do you find where you're going to have this link at, or what's the easiest
They don't
way
give you Kickstarter doesn't give you the link until it's
live. Okay. So what I'll do is you'll give it to me because obviously this episode's going to be up after your Kickstarter.
Right. Yeah.
So I'll put the link for that with this episode at iamsaltlake.com.
Yeah.
But I would imagine people can go to kickstarter.com and search Watchtower Coffee.
Go to our social medias like
And
Facebook,
links will be
Instagram, Twitter,
there.
our website as watchtowerslc.com. And you can sign up for our mailing list at the website.
Okay.
And so it will not be a secret.
And we'll be sharing that through the I Am Salt Lake channels too.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure people get there.
And I really appreciate you guys bringing us on, doing this, and being so supportive.
Whatever.
and
We
stuff.
appreciate like having a cool place
Dude,
to go.
You've been
all the
even
time.
awesome with Podcast Salt Lake City, our meetups there.
Oh yeah,
with doing that.
thank you for bringing that to us because I mean that's how Cori and I met. You know, like we were podcasters before Watchtower. And
Are you going to do a podcast studio in your new place, or is it not big enough?
I don't know if it's big enough, but
because I know you talked about it. At
We had
this
talked
place
about it.
that you're at now,
and we were actually like trying to make moves towards that, and then this spot opened up to move, and since then like everything got put on hold.
You kind of had to focus and narrow down.
Hyper focus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's like in an ideal situation we would put in like a podcast room, but then as the project kind of goes on and on, we're like, oh wow, we've just got to make sure that we can meet our bottom line of like the 50,000 just to get the shop going. So
plus coffee and I mean, it seemed like you might spill coffee on your podcast stuff, right?
Yeah, you might, and that's kind of was something that we were again like you were looking at it as almost an extension of the business or a separate business.
Yeah.
And those are things that we consider, you know, like how we have to replace equipment and how much is that going to cost and all those things, you know.
I mean that still also kind of figures into what we want from the shop. We kind of open up and we wanted like fans to come in. And then what happened is we got creators.
Yeah.
And people that, you know, have like a project or some kind of creative endeavor that they put out that they kind of use Watchtower to network within that. But still, when we're going into the new place, we're going to try to be more accommodating to creators versus just, you know, coming in and geeking out. So even with artists and writers are like the two top creators that come in. We're looking to also get product for artists to like, they could come in, they could pick up a comic book, and they can also pick up like drawing art supplies like paper, stuff like that. So that's more of like the retail vibe that we're going for as well. And then it always just makes sense to me. Coffee's popular here in America. I don't know if necessarily like Utah, but we've got a lot of cool stuff here in Utah when it comes to coffee. But it's kind of like the new water cooler discussion area. You know, people go out on dates. To make it low pressure, they go out on a coffee date for that quick interaction. And then if you're like meeting somebody, you know, for like a project, it's like, oh, let's meet over coffee.
Yep.
You know. So we're really trying to put that into nerdom and fandom and creating like that kind of like bohemian, you know, what
feel?
vibe, hipster.
Like,
I don't know.
I love that. I love that you're kind of going into like a space for creatives.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I don't, you know, there's not really a lot of places like that.
I mean, everybody does it at home, but you gotta move environments. I mean, even when Mike and I work, we're sitting down in our own shop, or we're like, oh, we need to get out of the hassle of our shop, and we're sitting at home. We still need like different environments to kind of get us pointed and get us.
Sure, we did that yesterday
focused.
because so we're along with the rebrand of the name. Cori's been working on a rebrand of our logo. And so we kind of updated the logo itself, and Cori's been like working really hard on the new look for Watchtower. And so she was doing that. I've been editing the Kickstarter video for the last 2 days, and we started out of the shop. Then we moved to the cafe at Harmon's so we could sit and eat and work. And then it was like every couple of hours we just have to get up and move locations. Like I need to change the scenery.
Oh yeah, like the environment really impacts your just the way your brain.
It's like 2 hours max, I think, and I got to move.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And I think that's why students, you know, they have Wi-Fi at home, but they don't necessarily have like a distraction-free workplace.
Yeah.
You would think that going into like a coffee shop, there would be tons of distractions, and there are, but it's like different kinds. Like you could find your corner of that place, and then just get work done. So that's.
You're not like, what's on the TV? Oh, what's in the refrigerator?
Yeah.
Roommates are
It's
tracking
distracting.
friends in and talking to you. And,
We're gonna an artist, one of the artists that comes in and at least like once a week, he gave us the idea to put like a big drawing like drafting table in the corner. He said if you had a drafting table, I would come. Like I just always need a place to work that's not at home.
Yeah.
And I would
It's a good
sure
idea.
be inclined. And he said like it'd probably get so popular you'll have to have signups.
Yeah.
But we're like, yeah, we can for sure get that.
There's a lot of artists. I mean, it's such a cool vibe. I keep trying not to name drop because we get some really cool people that kind of come in and they do stuff within the Watchtower walls. It's such a cool concept that like while you're sitting there like just wandering around the coffee shop, you can peek over somebody's shoulder, and then there's like a character like literally being born right there on the
So
table.
Basically, like if any of your listeners are comic book fans, if you're like reading comic books right now, if you're reading some like main titles, there's a very good chance that some of the pages that you're reading and looking at were created at Watchtower.
Yeah.
We completely respect the privacy of some of these professionals because they have such huge fans.
Would they live here in Utah?
Yeah, live here in Utah. There's a lot of comic book artists and writers right here in Utah. You'd be surprised.
You should connect. I would like to get
Off
more
air,
on
I will tell you.
the podcast.
But we want to give, because they have fans.
Sure.
And the fans get crazy. We don't want a bunch of people showing up at Watchtower bothering these people while they're trying to work.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, we don't ever name drop them or anything, but just know that if you're an avid comic book fan, there's a very good chance that you're reading pages that were written or drawn at Watchtower.
How does that make you both feel?
Proud.
Like knowing that these
So
badass
proud.
comic book people are working
So
in your
incredibly
shop.
humbled and proud.
It's kind of
I
like
get emotional thinking about it.
yeah, it would be so cool if like the place that we created like years down the line, you know, like everybody goes to like the house that Ernest Hemingway, you know, wrote books in, and then so that's the feel that we want, that we've always wanted. Like that was almost like the sky high dream for us.
Right.
Of like, wouldn't it be cool if it actually turned out that way, and it just is.
Yeah, well, like a couple weeks ago, I think it was like maybe last month, a writer, professional comic book writer, came in with a stack of comic books, and we didn't recognize them because I don't know what these people look like. You just see their names on the covers, right?
Yeah.
This guy comes in with a stack of comics. Like, oh, hey, I brought these for you. You guys sell comics here, right? We're like, yeah. And he said, I brought these for you. I wrote them. We're looking at him like, you wrote these? This is really, really cool. And then and so he had a writers group. He wanted to come and meet with some other writers. And then after he left, he's like, yeah, I like this. And I think we're going to like start meeting here more often. And I'm like, this is surreal.
What letters does his name start? No, I'm just kidding. What does it rhyme with? This episode of the podcast is brought to you by CBD Medic. CBD Medic is a revolutionary line of topical pain and skincare medications developed to provide safe and lasting relief naturally. CBD Medic products are the result of rigorous scientific research and an extensive understanding of the role of natural oils, analgesic ingredients, and how our bodies react to these combinations. CBD Medic is the first family of topical medications combining active pharmaceutical ingredients with hemp extract and other natural moisturizers. CBD Medic's innovative formula is built on 15 years of pharmaceutical research and development. CBD Medic products combine THC-free hemp extract with pharmaceutical ingredients. CBD Medic products combine THC-free hemp extract with pharmaceutical ingredients, along with 100% natural oils and essential oils, such as jojoba oil and peppermint oil, to create unique formulas for fast, effective, safe relief. Their motto is advanced science powered by nature, and it is their mission to utilize the highest quality ingredients to create treatments that can safely and effectively help relieve sports-related joint and muscle pain, back and neck pain, foot pain, arthritis-related pain, stiffness and swelling, muscle and joint pain, acne, blemishes, pimples, blackheads and whiteheads, itchy, dry, flaky skin caused by eczema and psoriasis. You could check out their website, cbd-medic.com. This is where you can check out all of their products. I Am Salt Lake podcast listeners, use the promo code podcast10, and this is going to save you 10% off your order. Again, that website, cbd-medic.com. Use the promo code podcast10, save 10%. And many thanks to CBD Medic for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Let's jump back into that conversation with Mike and Cori from Watchtower Coffee and Comics.
Another cool experience. I don't know if it would be cool to anybody other than us. So we were working at like this little mall convention. It's a really, really cute.
Wasatch?
The Valley Fair Mall.
Wasatch
the
Comic
nerd store
Con
does.
for creators.
And then so we didn't do a booth or anything like that because we were like, we want to talk to the creators and stuff like that. That's
you want to experience it.
Yeah. And then so we ran the green room, and this guy comes
coffee,
in,
making sandwiches.
Yeah, and he's this. A lot of people were coming in. They were asking about the shop and how cool, and these are like out of state creators that kind of come in. And then so we were talking shop with one guy, and he's like, oh yeah, I was thinking about this. I'm from Louisiana.
He was like, my wife and I are thinking about opening up a comic book coffee shop too. And we're like, do it. Yeah. Giving all this information, geeking out about business stuff. And
then so Mike was just like, he introduced himself and was just like, that name sounds familiar, like pulled it up. And it's the creator of this comic book Chew that is super popular. It's great. We're huge fans of that comic book. And then so we had to go by later and we're like, oh my God.
I didn't know who you were. I'm so sorry. I know your name, Rob Guillory. I was like, we have your books in the shop. And I was just like apologetic almost. Like, I'm sorry. I don't know what you look like. He's like, oh, it's probably for the best.
Yes.
He's a very handsome man. He was there with his son. Yeah, like things like that.
That's so cool.
Weird things happen that are cool to us. I don't know if they're cool to anybody else, but
that's all that matters, though.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're doing something that is fulfilling your life and other people's lives.
For sure.
Do you guys still work well together? I mean, I always hear stories, right? Boyfriend, girlfriends, relationships, husbands, wives, don't work together, blah, blah, blah.
I would say don't do it, but Cori and I work very well together.
Yeah. Well, and it's almost like a hindrance, where we're like, okay, we've got to work on this project. Again, we pick an environment like, yeah, this is going to be fun. We sit down and we just like talking.
We just enjoy each other's company so much
to the point that it's kind of like a fault.
And we're such good friends. Like we were friends before we got together.
Yeah.
And we like each other so much that we distract each other from work. And I mean, like it's not easy. It put a tremendous strain on our relationship. I mean, to the point, I don't know, do we want to talk about it? To the point where we broke up over it. Like it was just, it's not 100% because of the business, but I feel like the business was the gasoline on the fire of some lingering issues that Cori and I had in our relationship, that when we went into business together, the pressure just got so heavy to the point where I cracked. Our house was just dark and depressed, and the kids were struggling. Cori was going through stuff and just couldn't handle it, and I cracked, and we it ended our relationship. And the thing that I found, because we weren't together anymore, but we had this business, it's like being co-parents of a child.
Yeah,
it's like being divorced with a baby, and we're like, we neither of us were gonna push each other out of the business. Like we still want to do the business, we still want to do it together, but we're not together anymore. So we had to like communicate. We had to learn how to get along. And what I found was, even though we were not together romantically, we were such good business partners, and we worked together so well that even though we were having these personal problems, it's almost like we got closer because we had the business and we had to kind of get along. And to the point where it's like we looked at each other like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. Was that tough though? Like, especially at first, right? Breaking up, and then you come in the next day, even you're just like, oh, I don't want to look at you.
I would say this, like, to Cori's credit, Cori is very good at being professional.
I've had messy breakups, man.
I mean, ours was not clean by any means. Like it was
no one's is, right?
It was a mess, but within the walls of the business, Cori was just professional. We did our business. We handled. We had meetings.
So
it's just
cool.
like once we stepped out of the walls, it was just like a mess. It's like meltdown. Crying and yelling.
How impressive though that you guys could, kind of regroup when you needed to and continue to like work on things together, because that's like the hardest part. I mean that's almost harder than the relationship itself.
Hard. We put everything into this business. I mean, it cost us our mental health, our relationship, and like. But it's getting easier. It's
no.
Oh, yeah. Well, and
easier is not the word I would use, but it is getting better.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, so, that was a really dark period there with the business, and we had to put personal feelings, things like that off to the side, and then just kind of allowing ourselves to put that like kind of on the back burner, and then
for the best interest of the child.
Yeah.
Right?
And then so we kind of reconnected in that way, where it's just like, oh, okay. And then starting to realize that, there was a lot of habits that we had, which with each one of us, that we were allowing kind of like emotions and feelings and ego and stuff like that to distract us, where we were able to kind of reconnect in that way. And then we kind of sat down and we're like, well, if we kind of took, this approach and this stuff to everything outside of the business, we could have done better. We could have still been together and everything. And then it was just kind of like, well, why not?
Yeah, let's just get back to
let's try it again.
Well, we're getting married on August 18th.
Can I clap?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys have a date set.
Yep. It's August 18th. It's the day that Scott Pilgrim comic book was first published.
Awesome.
That's a very sentimental, personal story
cool.
to us.
Yeah. And I think we mentioned on last episode, before I started working at Coffee Connection, he and I, at the beginning of our relationship, actually kind of had our first date there.
Our first date was at the shop. Yeah.
He took a picture of me trying to practice the ukulele that he was showing me how to play. So there's a lot of our personal stuff that's within the shop. And we integrated our lives so much into it that there's no way that we can't be together.
Yeah.
It just
doesn't work.
Yeah, we can't be apart and then doing it together. And then so we have to.
Well, and while we were separated, while we weren't together in a relationship, we were still such good friends. We were such good friends, and we geeked out all the time. We made each other laugh all the time, and it just kind of just didn't make sense to be anything else but together. So
we're getting married, and we're obviously very excited to get married. The shop is still so much forefront that it's like we've had to change the wedding stuff
to fit the business needs.
To go, to make sure that it's even hard because we'll probably have to close on the wedding day. Because there's no way that we could.
You're going to make that one.
That would be tough to do both on one day.
We'll probably shut the business down for that week or something, or for a few days that weekend.
I think everybody would understand.
Yeah. There's no way that I'm going to be like down the aisle and then I'm going to be getting like that little ping of like, oh, hey, we're out of toilet paper. Yeah.
Mike and Katie shut down Quarters when they got married. Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah. So our wedding is basically to fit the needs of the shop too. And it's so poignant.
You could just get married in the shop.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Did you really?
We didn't want to put work and personal
maybe
stuff
that's a little
together.
too much.
It's a little too integrated.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we really did put everything. So back to your first question about, are there days that we just want to
quit.
Shut it down and quit? Yes, all the time. There's days that I just want to throw gasoline on the building and burn it to the ground.
I think most business owners are probably like that.
Let's take everything in the bank account and just go to Disney World right now.
Yeah.
Let's shut it down. There's just days, and what keeps us from doing that really is the community and the things that we see. We hear stories all the time about people who've had their first date at Watchtower and how much it means to them. We've had people talk to us about when bad things happen in their lives or when good things happen in their lives. Watchtower is the first place they come to either sort through their things or celebrate. And, I talk about this a lot, but when Cori and I were, it wasn't always cool to be nerdy, right?
Yeah.
It's cool now. But when Cori and I were younger, we were bullied and teased and made fun of for liking Star Wars and Star Trek and comic books and fantasy and sci-fi and all that stuff. We literally got bullied and teased and made fun of. And so to be able to take that and flip it around and create a place where everyone can come and be themselves, whether it's geek stuff or if you're part of the furry community or part of the LGBTQ community or whatever it is, wherever you're not accepted outside in the real world, you always have a home here. And those kinds of things, we see that happening and we can't shut it down.
Can I say the nerdiest thing ever right now?
Yes, please.
So I'm working through the Stormlight Archive. I don't know if you've read them, Brandon Sanderson books.
But my son.
Yeah.
If you ever do, you guys are Bridge 4.
Okay.
Exactly what you're saying. Bridge 4, I won't totally go out. It's a fantasy book, but Bridge 4 is the group of people that all the misfits go to.
Oh, that's us. That's
it's
us.
it's
For
so
sure.
great. Yeah.
So it's okay. See, I told you I could wear my furry costume there.
Yes,
Yeah, go for it.
absolutely. Are
I'm
you
game.
a furry? I thought you were a clown.
Can he be both?
I could be whatever I want. My mom said I could be whatever I want to be. No, I'm kidding.
I'm just kidding. I just called you out, man.
There's don't want to hold you here all day. So there's a few Salt Lake questions. I don't know. I can't remember if I asked you favorite local eating spots when you guys were on the first time. Did I ask you guys
I don't
that
remember.
one? Yeah, because these were some questions maybe I threw in
maybe
later.
maybe it's changed. Maybe a new place has popped up.
Yeah.
So when you're not drinking coffee, right? One or two places that you like to stuff your face.
Oh man, I like.
I love Sweet Lake.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yes,
it's
They're
basically,
close by.
and it's so nice because when we move from state to Maine, we're going to be that much closer to our favorite breakfast spot. But it's just right down the street from Watchtower.
Oh, their Cubana. Have you had their Cubana?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So good.
It's like, I'm almost like slightly jealous of them, of like how cool their eatery is, but love it that it's just right down the street. And it's kind of fun because when we also walk in, it's like they're sometimes fans of us, and then there's like our own customers are like, oh hey, it's cool to see you outside the shop. And
we went to a Prohibition one night and signed up for their email list, and so we gave them their email. It's at Watchtower, whatever. And the guy that was taking it was like, oh, I love Watchtower. I go there all the time. And started like naming off his favorite drinks. So like, this is weird.
Yeah.
This is weird.
There was one time, Pie Hole, another favorite of ours.
Yep.
We were walking back to our car from there, and then somebody was like passing by me, and they're like, thanks for the good coffee today. Just like, who was that?
Weird.
Drive-by compliment.
Small Lake City, man. It's that way for everybody, really, here. I mean, no matter where. I mean, I go to the grocery store. It seems like I just run into somebody. Go here, you run into somebody. But what would you tell somebody if they're coming to Salt Lake for the first time? Is there something you would say, you got to check this out?
Quarters.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
we would be
Quarters is great, man.
if we did not mention we're business dating.
And they've been on I Am Salt Lake too. So I forgot. I think I want to say episode 315, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was right before they opened.
Yeah, Mike and Katie are so
They
great.
are so
They're like,
cool.
we realize like they're opposite us.
Bizarro us.
They're bizarro us because they take care of the alcohol. We take care of the coffee. They're a couple that runs the business together, both in a nerdy industry, a geek business. But like Mike and I both went to our names are Mike. We both went to film school. He and I are both Hufflepuffs. Cori and Katie are both Slytherins. And we're like, oh my gosh, it's like mirror, bizarro us.
You're like Mario and Wario.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That's awesome.
We're the evil ones.
Okay, that's fair.
So back to the Kickstarter.
Yep.
As we kind of wind this recording down, did we talk about everything with Kickstarter? I know we kind of seemed like we slid in a different direction, but we went through the artists and the rewards.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be on the Kickstarter.
Yep.
You mentioned a video. I guess there's going to be
I'll show you the video after
we're done here.
Yeah.
And links to get a hold of you guys. Facebook.
It's
what do you got?
Our tag is at Watchtower SLC on social media. So Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Watchtower SLC or Watchtower Coffee and Comics.
We're still going to be at the State Street location for much longer than we want to be, but
we'll be there.
You could always come drop by. I mean, we're still in business right now, so make sure that you still get your daily cup of coffee. And we're at 1588 South State Street. So when you get to about like 16 South or 18 South, start slowing down your
Watch
car.
for it right there on the west side of the road.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
so right across the street from the State Street Community College campus, right in between Ironclad and Uprock.
And if you go into Watchtower, mention that you heard Cori and Mike on the podcast.
Say, way to go. Nice interview, guys.
Thank
you.
Chances are I'll probably be there because I've been working a lot lately. So
anything else that you guys, why we got the record button going here? Anything else that you want to mention that we didn't talk about? Anything you want to promote? Obviously, go support the Kickstarter. Go support these guys. Well, what are your hours? Are you open till like
get a boba
9,
tea.
right?
open till 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Yep.
10 to 10, 8 to 10? Well, you guys
we
probably pretty
open
early.
at 8 o'clock during the week and then 9 o'clock on weekends.
Okay. And Chrissy has a final question that she throws out, and I guess we're going to have two different answers.
Okay.
Yeah, which is even better. Double the fun,
for
right?
it. But
All right. So if you could leave our listeners with one piece of life advice or a motto to live by, what would it be?
Do not allow one person to dictate how you run things. This is very business centric, but if one person comes in and they're like, I would come in all the time if you opened at 6 a.m. You have to stop and be like, I believe you, but I can't run, be open 2 extra hours for one person to come in, and you would have to come in every day and bring in 30 of your closest friends. So that was something one person doesn't dictate a whole demographic.
I love that.
Yeah. And then if that one person is just like, they're not open at 6 a.m., I'm going to leave them a 1-star review to try to bully them into doing it. You've got to let that happen.
It's
Yeah,
surprisingly, like mine is kind of along the same lines. It's trust your gut, trust your instincts. You're right. You guys have seen Labyrinth, the movie.
Sure. Yeah.
There's the part where she's going down and all the walls are saying, "Don't go, like you're going the wrong way," but really it's a distraction because she's going the right way. That's my metaphor for life. All the haters, all of the people that can't do the thing that you're doing, that are jealous of you, they're all going to pull you down. They're all going to tell you you're doing it wrong. You're not going the right way, but trust your gut, trust your instinct. You can do that thing that you've been wanting to do. You can do it. Just don't listen to all the haters. Don't listen to those talking walls. You're going the right way.
Many thanks again to Mike and Cori for joining us on this episode of the podcast. You can find all the links to connect with them by visiting our website at iamsaltlake.com/382.
Support for I Am Salt Lake comes from KRCL 90.9, amplifying community voices since 1979. This listener-supported music discovery station covers everything from reggae and punk rock to local grassroots activism. Listen today at 90.9 FM or online at krcl.org. All right, and on that note, it is weekly recommendation time. This is the time of the podcast where Chrissy and I, we each give a recommendation, something that we've discovered, something that we love, something that we just want to share with you, the listeners. And sometimes they're going to be silly things, like I'm going to recommend a coffee creamer. Okay, don't laugh at me. The brand is called Picnic.
Which is so cute.
This is like a keto coffee creamer. A lot of listeners know I do the keto diet. And so this is a really cool coffee creamer. There's 0 carbs in it. It has MCT oil and grass-fed butter. It tastes good. And it's on sale right now at Sprouts. That's why I picked it up. I actually saw it on Facebook. Talk about Facebook advertising getting to you, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I enjoy it because it's really cute design.
Yeah,
and it's just a cute little thing in the fridge.
It's delicious, so pick it up. Like I said, I think Sprouts is the only place that has it.
Oh, okay. Good to know. Good to know. Well, hey, my recommendation is a show on Netflix called Dead to Me. It's got Christina Applegate.
It's got a few
big names.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yeah, I love it.
We started it and I'm kind of like, okay, I get where this is going. And then the next episode, you're like, whoa, I did not see that coming. And then the next episode, you feel the same way. And it's like nothing I've ever really watched before.
My fear, though, is they're going to cancel it before even season 2 comes out.
They probably will because they always cancel the good shows.
They canceled that the
Santa Clarita Diet, which is like awesome.
I was so ticked off when they canceled that show.
Me too.
Actually, if I got 2 recommendations this week, I would say go check out that show too, Dead to Me.
Dead to Me, so good, so good. That's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to support our show sponsors, Five Wives Vodka, CBD Medic, Energy Healing Conference, and KRCL. We'll have the links for them at our website under the notes for this episode, which you can find at iamsaltlake.com.
Hey, and if you have not subscribed to this podcast yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button in whatever app that you're listening to this in. That way you don't miss a single episode as we release them week after week.
And if you want to send us anything, you can always send letters and packages to P.O. Box 4412, Salt Lake City, Utah 84110.
Hey, you have a great week. Make sure to get outside, enjoy some of that sunshine, support local, and we're going to see you on the next episode.
And good night, Grammy.